to a new episode of Meet Me in the Middle. I'm Joy Martin, and
I'm Lindsay Pollard.
And today we have Therisa Means with us today. Woohoo! We're so excited to have her on the show. Therisa is a motivational storyteller. She's a business advisor. She's an author. Oh my goodness, what else are you, Therisa? You're so many things. I have so many things down here on my piece of paper about her. She's just an amazing, amazing young woman, and she's a powerful, impacting person, and lives here in Huntsville, but we are looking forward to telling you all about her today, and I'm going to let her start some stuff. We met through a good mutual friend, Angela Hawk. Shout out to Angela Hawk and HLA Consulting for connecting us. So, Therisa, when I first met you, we were in an office situation with my nonprofit that I work with, Intentional Faith, and you were just sharing your story. And what I loved, I had never met you before that day that I know of, and you sat down and you were just so transparent, so vulnerable, and you just shared your story with us, and I was just so enjoying the freshness of you just sharing your story like that. So we want to start with you talking about your beginning, your just tell us your whole life story, honey.
Just dive in.
Right. Well, short version, I am from North Carolina. I like to tell people I'm from like the whole Triad or Piedmont area. So Greensboro, Charlotte, Concord, Fayetteville, all of that at once. I've lived in Huntsville for 2 years. Moved to Huntsville as a leap of faith. I prayed about it. I was trying to avoid it, prayed about it. The Lord confirmed, and I packed up my stuff, sold everything that couldn't fit in my little car, and drove down here within a week. Been the best experience of my life, the worst experience, and the best experience because of the lessons learned. And being here has allowed me to meet all these wonderful new people like you guys, and Angela, and just expand my entire territory, build on my life and my relationship with God, and even know Him in a whole different way. And it's also helped me to build my business as a business advisor and coach, become an author, and even push to open new businesses. Like I'll be opening up a new business in about a year. So God has just been amazing, and I just love sharing and telling my transparent story through business.
All right, and just so you all know, we're going to do 2 or 3 episodes with Therisa, and we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty of all that stuff and some of your business that you're doing. But tell us, in your growing up years, you had some significant turning points, and this is what I feel compelled to talk about on this episode, is the turning points in your life that really changed the trajectory, if I can get that out, of your life. And I know there were more than one. And Lindsay, I know when she starts talking about this, you're going to like dive in with some good questions with this, but tell us about some significant turning points in your life in your growing up years, or your early adult, starting out.
Yeah. I guess my first turning point would be when my mother got sick. So my whole life I grew up in not a good place, but for me, I didn't know any difference. Like, it was called the bottom, and I guess they considered that the hood, but I didn't know any difference. It was home to me. And so everybody was like Superwoman and Superman there, and didn't think anything of it. But my mom got sick. She ended up having a pinched nerve at work, and then they had surgery on that, and she had a hemorrhagic disc, had surgery on that, and then found out she had a brain tumor on her brain stem. Okay. And that was the first time I ever seen my mom as not like the superwoman that I thought she was. Like, oh my gosh, she can get sick. Like, something could happen. But it made me jumpstart and actually start to take care of myself. on my own, because I thought that as the oldest, I thought I was trying to, take a little bit of pressure off of them. So, I was trying to raise myself. I was in, I think, high school, the beginning of high school. And so I was like, I don't want to worry them with my issues. My sister was a wild child. And so she was already taking a lot of the I guess the thoughts of my parents and their energy. And so I was like, I don't want to worry them. I just want to, do things what I could do. So I started doing everything on my own, even applying to college, financial aid, everything. They didn't even know, like, my parents didn't get to have that college experience where they, you talk to your kids about where you're going to go and you do the application together. They didn't have that. They didn't even know I was planning on going to college. It was literally, hey, can y'all drop me off at Greensboro in June?
Wow.
And they're like, for what? And so in my mind, I thought that I was being very much so helpful. But now later on in years, I have learned that my parents they wanted those experiences, especially in that time of turmoil. They wanted to have some type of normalcy. And I kind of robbed them of that. But that was my first turning point of just seeing that, hey, things can happen in life and it knocks us off of our feet, literally. So what am I going to do about it? And seeing my mom fight through that, like every single surgery, every chemotherapy appointment, the radiation, all of that has made me realize, like, there is strength, even in those moments where, you do get knocked off. There's a living testimony in her. And that's what helped me to start being as transparent as I am.
Wow. She's still living.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And you were in high school when that happened, right?
Yeah.
When you were getting sick and everything. You were in Charlotte, North Carolina then? Or
I was in Concord then.
Concord. Okay,
So
I know.
started off in Concord, and then my mom, when she got sicker, there was some things going on with our family life, and just trying to take care of her. We ended up moving to Fayetteville. And Hope Mills, but Fayetteville. And I finished high school there. But she was really not, she was there, but then most of her time was at Duke Hospital for the appointments, the surgeries, and things like that. So that's how it happened for us.
Had you guys had a chance to, and I know I'm running just a little bit ahead, but had you all had a chance as a family to review that time? Because you made a comment that you felt like you robbed them of those experiences. Have you had a time to come back and just get everybody's perspective of how they thought they were helping and how they were dealing with that crisis?
Not necessarily. So my mom, because of all of the radiation and stuff, now she has a hard time hearing. So she has a hearing implant that's been, she's had for about a year, a little bit over. So she can't hear a lot, and she's now, because of the radiation, she has to wear glasses. She kind of loses her balance every now and then. People don't really understand how important hearing is.
Yeah.
But she's almost not the same person. She was this person that was like so full of life and just always wanting to be around people, always laughing and joking. Yeah. She's the same person on that sense, but not as much. She's more so now, because she can't hear, she'd rather just be at home. And then, we're in her space and, that type of thing. But we haven't had a chance to talk. The most I've had to talk about that is with my dad, because me and my dad did not have a good relationship growing up at all, to the point where I would tell people I hated my dad. And I really felt that way. And I thought that's really what I felt like. Me and my dad actually fought before, and more so my fault, because I thought I was grown. But we've had that time after I've taken a moment to forgive and really understand where he was coming from and things that was happening to him. Only in my older age now did I have that moment to really reflect on that time. And he shared some things. Like, my dad is very much so open with me now, and he's become almost my best friend. So that's been the way that I know about how he felt at that point in time.
What brought about that forgiveness for you to forgive your dad? What helped you get to that point or continue to be at that point?
Um, a movie. I don't remember what the name of the movie was, but I remember. So when me and my mom and all of us moved, we moved to Fayetteville without my dad at first. And he was supposed to come later. Some things happened. He never came for a while, like years. And then when he came, because like literally every time he would try to come, something would happen. So I was like, Mom, that's a sign. You know, the Lord is trying to show you. And my mom would always be like, you know, that's not what it is. That's still my husband, and you know, taking her vows seriously. And I was just like, nah, Mom, we need to leave. Like, we need to X him out of our lives. But then I watched this movie one day, and I don't remember what it was, but the movie was about this man that kept chasing the wife, and the wife had moved on and started dating somebody else. And the kids were like, Dad, move on. Mom's not thinking about you. And they were like, and the dad kept saying, I promised her I would not leave. I would always be here. And lo and behold, at the end of the day, what had happened was they uncovered that earlier on in their marriage, the mom and dad had some issues, and I think he stepped out and she waited, and they healed each other and came back or whatever. And so now he was doing the same thing, and he was trying to wait. And at the end of the movie, everybody got back together and all that stuff. But it showed me, I don't know what happened in my mom and dad's life before me. All I know is what I see, my perspective of it. I don't know what they were going through, why my mama was holding on so strong and still is to my dad, and why she had so much faith that my dad would just turn his life around. And I remember my mom saying, oh, my husband, he'll be up in church one way or another. Either we'll will him in or he'll walk in. And I was like, what is wrong? But it had me to realize, like, that's none of my business. My mom and dad's relationship, that's none of my business. And as much as a daughter that we want to see everybody happen, it's not of my business what happened before. So I need to mind my business and step out of it. And it allowed me to take my step out and see my dad for my dad, who he was in my life.
I'm just amazed that you're still alive after fighting your dad.
Listen, I had family there that kind of helped me not to die at that point. So
yes,
your mom sounds like she's got some incredible faith. I'll say that, and not just faith, but like faith that sees the best in somebody, even when you don't see that reality. And isn't that what faith really is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I know you got another little turning point. You got more, because I know you talked about, I remember you telling me something about college. Well, you were such an independent little child there, weren't you? Mercy.
Well, I mean, that independence was a gift and a curse. Because that independence made me end up thinking I was grown too early, and I ended up getting pregnant, having an abortion, doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff in college. So I grew up fast, and then some life happened, and I wouldn't take any of it back. Like, I learned so much in that time period, and I know everybody's always like, you act like you're so old, but I learned so much in the short amount of time that I've been living on this earth, and I would rather not trade that in for anything.
Ooh, okay, tell us about how you work through the abortion then. That's the thing that a lot of people need to know, that maybe some of you out there listening, you've had an abortion and you're still working through the emotions of that. Therisa, tell us how'd you work through that middle?
So for me, when I got pregnant, I was with, I guess he was my high school sweetheart. I thought we was gonna be together forever. And so when I got pregnant, it was like, I knew that I would have had to, like, there was nothing that I was doing to try not to be pregnant. So when I got pregnant, I didn't even tell my mom and dad. They didn't even know. I went to a doctor's appointment to get birth control. And they came in was like, hey, when did you say your last period was? And I tried to make up something. And then she came back in, I think, to try to catch me in a lie. She came back in and asked me again, and I couldn't remember what I had just told her. And she's like, yeah, so you're pregnant. And everything kind of shifted. Like, I didn't really know what to think because I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't know if I was pregnant. Yeah. But me and a guy, we were excited at first. Well, at first we were kind of shocked, then we was excited. And we were just excited at first. And we were going to tell our parents because my mom was still in Duke. And so she was supposed to be coming home, my mom and dad. And I didn't even get a chance to because he had told his mom, and his mom had him young. And she was like, I just want you guys to think about, what's going on. I'm not going to tell y'all what to do because this is your decision, but I want you to make a plan. Whatever you do, make a plan. And so we started thinking about it. And at that point in time, it was, about 2007? My mom was going through what she was going through at Duke. So I was like, Lord, we ain't got no money. My mom and dad don't have money. I was working a little job at a daycare, and it was my senior year in high school, and he was at college. So there's money there. And so we in our minds, we thought that because, we thought we was going to be together forever, we was like, yeah, we're going to give our baby to God. And then he's going to have our child until we're ready. Like, we're going to stop having sex, and we're going to be celibate, and we're going to do things right. And then when we get married, because we're going to get married after we graduate college, we get married, and then we're going to have the baby. Okay. That's what we're going to do. And the worst experience of my life. People was in there like, yeah, this is my third time here. And I'm like crying, and I don't want this to happen, but it just was like a whole different universe. And I remember them talking about it, like they would talk to you, try to counsel you, but we had already made up our minds what was going to happen. But I didn't even understand, honestly, the reality of what I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't realize, like, legit what I was doing. I didn't even realize how big my baby was at that point in time, because I had just made the mark, like the cutoff mark at that time. So I didn't realize, like, it wasn't just like something small. Like, my baby had a heartbeat by that time. And so that sat with me for years. Like, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I forgave myself for that. So that was a whole nother turning point of, wow. And my parents, like, as time goes on, I never even got to tell them. I was like, how do I tell them? Like, hey, y'all, 10 years ago, I had an abortion. And then my sister got pregnant. So I was like, oh, they would have been fine with it. But it just nothing worked out. And it just was like, what do I do? And even after the fact, I still lied to people. I lied to my friends and family. The people that did know I was pregnant, only like a handful. I told them I lost the baby. I couldn't tell them that I had an abortion because I just didn't know how. And I felt so ashamed. And I was one of those people like, oh, you're going to hell if you have an abortion, but never really understood, like, what it takes, like what people go through. I don't support having abortions as, as birth control, like some people that were in there, but I do understand that sometimes things happen and people make decisions based off of where they are, thinking what's best for them. But it's a whole nother level of forgiveness on their part for themselves, and a whole nother emotional struggle for the person that goes through it after the fact. So now I have just a little bit more compassion with people who have been through it. I'm not going to judge anybody because I can be judged. Right. But I truly know what it was like to go through it. And even after the fact, some days I still think about like, oh, my child would have been this many years older. I wonder what they would have been like. But it took me a while to get to this place. And now I'm like, God forgives me. So I can forgive myself. And there's a reason that I go through everything. So there's no need for me to hide it now, because this is my testimony. So this will help someone else. If I hide what I'm going through, then that means some little girl that may be looking for the same answers may not get what she needs because of my selfishness.
Do you think that the abortion process, even though the male is not carrying the baby, do you think that the guys go through as much emotional turmoil?
I know for a fact that my boyfriend at the time, he did go through some stuff. He never told me at that time, but like we went through a bad breakup and then we got back together, tried, and we talked later on in life. And he felt like he couldn't provide. And so that was emasculating in his point, from what he told me. So I do think that even though they're not in the room and they're not the ones that's physically getting the child ripped out of them, they still go through certain things. Some of them.
Yeah.
You talked about forgiving your dad. And I think this is another layer of forgiveness, that you had to forgive yourself. And that God forgave you. I mean, I just see the beautiful cycle of forgiveness here. And I love hearing stories like this, because it's like, you can just see the weaving that God did, because I think all of us have done something that we're not happy about, or that we're not proud of, and in some cases that we're just ashamed of, for some, that or has brought shame to us, or whatever, regret, or all those words, any of those words. But there's grace, there's forgiveness from God, but we do have to forgive ourselves. But in doing that, it helps us forgive other people. And I love that in your turning points, it's just a beautiful cycle of forgiveness. I don't know, Lindsay, you have any more questions as we wrap up this session?
No, I think that's a great way to end this session. Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful.
Faithfulness of God. All right, thank you for sharing your tender places, I call them. And hey, everybody, come back. We're going to do another episode in just a minute, and you're going to hear some more stuff that are really good about Therisa. All right, see you next time.